I recently had a conversation with a lifelong Democrat who told me they were now going to be voting for Donald Trump. And I found that funny because one of the arguments you often hear from the left is that people are abandoning all principles simply because someone was annoying on the internet. That's a very simplistic straw man argument for what's actually going on. What's happening is that long-standing institutions are being corrupted by a fringe authoritarian ideology, and it's not doing what they think it's doing. Now, on the surface, it appears that many people embrace this ideology and absolutely hate the president. But as the data shows, it's not true. Trump actually has a secret support base. Now, Trump supporters know this because they know many people who are scared to say they support the president because they could lose their jobs or be blacklisted. In fact, recently, we saw a story where Deborah Messing and Eric McCormick of Will and Grace were calling for a list of Trump supporters in which they so that they could know who not to work with. So yes, Trump supporters absolutely are concerned that if they speak out about woke outrage, they will lose their jobs and their livelihood will be threatened. But it's not stopping them from voting. They just go and vote in secret. We then end up seeing stories like this. I got a bunch of data to go through. Today, I want to talk about secret Trump supporters and secret conservatives. We have this story from the other day, the College Fix. 73% of Republican students have withheld political views in class for fear their grades would suffer. But we also have a story about secret voters favoring Trump 2-1 in the 2016 election. I believe in 2016, but this story is from May 21st. Guess what? When the woke outrage comes to shut down things we like, people don't just silently agree, they silently disagree. They pretend to support this outrage culture, but behind the scenes, they're going to go vote for Trump. This is skewing the results of polls, and it's skewing the effect on the media. Here's what's happening. You have people in media who don't see dissent. So then they say, hey, we must be in the right, and they continue this purity spiral. Democratic 2020 candidates then agree with the purity spiral, and regular Americans are slowly backing away. You know why? We like jokes. We like having fun, as evidenced by Dave Chappelle's latest special. Dave Chappelle's special was important for one reason. Here's a guy who didn't change. He's still in your face, he's still offensive, he's still funny, and that's what people want. They don't want things they like to be corrupted. Look at Luke Skywalker in Star Wars. Once a great hero and something of inspiration, became a whiny loser in the latest movies. It makes people sad. Check this out. Dave Chappelle, which I covered this yesterday, 16,000 audience reviews, 99%. That's nuts. It's a lot of people to give it 5 stars over and over again. And of course, out of 9 critic scores, it's got 33% because the critics are wrong. They live in this weird world that doesn't really exist. So let's do this. First, I want to read about these college Republicans who are hiding their views and pretending not to be conservative, but I want to show you some real examples of how the mainstream is pushing back and saying enough. Although I can't say that the woke outrage culture is going to lose anytime soon, there are at least some examples like Adult Swim, Dave Chappelle, and The View saying knock it off. Will it work out in their favor? We'll see. Let's get started with this story. Now, before we do, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There's a PayPal option, a crypto option, a physical address. The best thing you can do, however, just share this video on social media because YouTube deranks channels like mine and other independent political commentators in favor of CNN and MSNBC and Fox News. So if you do like it, sharing this is the most effective way to help. But let's read. The College Fix reports. A survey of 1,000 Republican and Republican-leaning college students has found that nearly 3/4 of them have withheld their political views in class for fear their grades would suffer. The online poll was conducted in late August exclusively for the College Fix by College Pulse, an online survey and analytics company focused on college students. Only students who self-identify as Republican or Republican-leaning were polled. The question asked, have you ever withheld your political views in class for fear that your grades would suffer? 73% of students who identify as strong Republican reported that they had, while 71% of students who identify as weak Republican said yes. Even students who identify as Republican-leaning independents indicated they've kept quiet. 70% reported they have withheld their political views to protect their grades. What's interesting is I identify as a Democrat-leading independent, and I can assure you there are many people I know who are unwilling to speak up about this. Now, you all know I am more than willing to speak up about everything, because I do it all day, every day, with no days off. But as I mentioned early on, I was talking to somebody who was a lifelong Democrat who said that effectively, it's not about whether they agree with Trump's policies or not. It's that the Democrats and the establishment need a wake-up call. They've gone nuts. They aren't talking to regular people anymore. And so now you have a few different groups of Trump supporters who don't actually like Trump. You have the Bernie or bust types, the people who are saying we need a legitimate politician who cares about the people, a left-wing populist, and if the DNC establishment is going to take that away, we'll vote for Trump. Now, on policy, they really disagree with Trump, though they probably agree with some issues like trade. You then have the chaos vote, people who want to vote for Trump simply because it will bring about complete chaos. You then have the secret Trump voters, people who really do agree with him but don't want to let anyone know. And then you have the rage and revenge voters, people who would probably much prefer a Democrat but want the Democrats to learn a lesson. They want to inflict some kind of warning or suffering. Maybe suffering is the wrong word, but they want to send a message. They're not necessarily chaos voters, but they want to vote for Trump because they want the Democrats to learn you did wrong. Take a look at this story. So that's a decent group of voters. Admittedly, the secret Trump voters do like him. But you then have these other groups that don't actually like the president, but they're going to vote for him anyway. And look, this is probably why he won in 2016. I should say, well, it is a contributing factor to why he won. Obviously, he got the votes. He didn't get the popular vote. But the media couldn't see it coming because of this. The polls can't tell you if people secretly support the president or not. But when you come for Dave Chappelle, they're coming for South Park now, okay? When you come for South Park, check out the story from Vice. This story is called South Park Made It Cool Not to Care, Then the World Changed. They say 20 years after the groundbreaking South Park movie, is it time for the show's proudly childish point of view to grow up? No! The last thing they say in this long story is that South Park can never be what it was back in bigger, longer, and uncut days, because too much has changed. Today's most urgent cultural battles are less about top-down censorship and more about the ways the nuances of policy, language, and representation can hurt historically marginalized people, in part because social media has ensured that these people are finally having their concerns heard. If we dismiss these discussions as authoritarian censorship, we'll be betraying everything that made South Park great in the glory days of bigger, longer, and uncut. The movie is a story about a bunch of people who start off caring about something they think is a threat and then get so caught up in fighting that they end up hurting everyone around them. A lot of people could still benefit 20 years later from taking note of the movie's message, including Matt Stone and Trey Parker. How blind do you have to be? How insane do you have to be to write that paragraph? A movie about morally outraged people who realize they were wrong and trying to use that to claim your moral outrage is correct? No, you're not doing what you think you're doing. Your moral grandstanding is creating secret Trump voters. I'll tell you this, man. There are people I have known in my life, and I can't say their names. I can't have them on because they're scared. This is a fact, whether anyone wants to admit it or not. The left likes to say, well, if the people exist, prove it. Why? So that you can leak their information and threaten to dox them? That's what they do. Look at this story from July. UT freshmen threatened with release of personal info if they join conservative groups. You think my friends want to come onto my show where I get hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views and express their concerns about the Democratic Party? Why? So they can have their life destroyed? No, they don't want to do that. And I'm disappointed, absolutely. I am absolutely disappointed in the people who are refusing to stand up. But at least in private, they can still have some kind of, there's still something they can do. While I personally wouldn't recommend voting for Trump simply because you're mad at the Democrats, there are a lot of people who will, and I can't blame them. There are also a lot of people, the people I'm referring to, who tell me they won't vote Democrat. They won't vote for Trump, but they won't vote Democrat. So what then happens? If you look at the 2020 field, you see no real strength. Okay, it's a lot of wishy-washy and a lot of weakness. And Trump's going to win on the incumbent advantage, the economy, and sheer force of will. Donald Trump is boisterous and loud, and he can push people down. That is more than any of the Democrats have to offer. But take a look at everything that's going on. People are hiding their views in college. So these secret Trump voters exist. whether they were made Republican by the woke outrage or not, you can't see it. And this contributes to woke outrage because so long as people don't stand up and tell these people they are crazy weirdos, they continue to hold power in media. And that's one of the reasons they don't like me. Oh, some of them will try to claim I'm conservative. I'm not. And then when it's convenient, Vice will say I'm an online lefty, which they literally did, because it has to suit their agenda. But they don't like me because I have no problem saying I'm a moderate-leaning Democrat, and I don't like you. I don't like your authoritarian censorship. And I don't like the fact that you're now going after South Park. I watch Family Guy all the time and American Dad, and they make extremely offensive jokes all the time. Let's read a little bit more of the story, and then I want to show you this example from Adult Swim. Pushing back, and boy, is this comic amazing. Adult Swim published a comic. I have the guy's name pulled up. We'll get to it, because it's like, what is it? Brecht van den Broek? I can't, sorry. But he's making fun of the press, and now he's being accused of being transphobic. So let's read this a little bit more from the College Fix, because I want to get into these college students who know if they write a paper, they can get their grades will be hurt. Check this out. They say, in the comment section of the survey, where students have the option to weigh in on the topic after they've answered, several offered various anecdotes among them. Someone said, you should be inclusive of everyone's views. Their quote, that abortion is bad. No, not like that. We've heard that before. Check this one out. This person wrote at Clemson, when writing papers for gen ed classes, absolutely. I know a guy who chose to write a pro-border wall argumentative essay for our super liberal professor, and the prof just wrote, this whole paper is one big fallacy and bombed him. Me? I wrote about the evils of horse racing. Pretty safe topic. This person at UCSD said, not for fear of a bad grade, but fear of being a social outcast. So here's what happens. You have all of these people who love what Dave Chappelle said. All of it. It was just funny. And they're scared, so they won't speak up. But I'll tell you what, in secret, they will vote for Trump. But I'm really interested to see this pushback. Adult Swim published a comic. Let me show you the comic first. It says Adult Swim Sunday Comics by Brecht van den Broek. First, we can see a bunch of men wearing, I guess, a dress. They're very masculine with big arms, but they're dressed like women, and they have beards, but they also have like women's hairstyles. This is why they were accused, this comic artist was accused of being transphobic. These four men, or there's more, they're all shocked, looking up. Oh my God, it's coming, we have to hide. Quick, in here, and they all run into a cave. What were they running from? A gigantic floating concrete The Truth in the sky. But safely in their cave, they start spray painting lies on the walls. Someone has a piece of paper with a unicorn and he writes lies. And then someone said, with his MacBook, he says, oof, at least in here we can safely work on our journalism. What an amazing comic. A lot of people I should say the narrative is that it's only Trump supporters who believe mainstream news is fake news or the enemy of the people. Yet this is Adult Swim. Now, some might say, well, maybe Adult Swim just didn't really understand what the comic was about. No, I think they understand what the comic's about. Oof, now we can work on our journalism, hiding from the truth. Now, the comic artist made a really interesting point, and I think it's here at the bottom saying, let me get to it. He basically says, let's read this. Van den Broek is his name, is a full name. Appears to be addressing the criticism for the comic shared to the Adult Swim account on Wednesday. He said, well, first of all, it's a joke on the difficult state of journalism today, of course, with sloppy Twitter journalism in echo chambers and sometimes badly researched articles that can easily be verified by the public and constant corrected articles after their publication. Van den Broek wrote, he said in another message that he is gay himself, and his characters come from that place. This is really funny. This guy says he's gay. He makes comics that frequently use these characters. No, it wasn't intending to show trans characters. Those are just characters that he writes. He writes non-binary characters. He's actually kind of a bit of a leftist himself. But he's criticizing woke journalism, and of course, they are outraged by it. But I will tell you what, there's a reason why this comic wasn't taken down and why it's not getting ratioed. Because regular people agree with this. They're sick and tired of this. Another one of this man, Van den Broek's comics. It's a bunch of angry people. There's another one of his androgynous characters sculpting a big, I don't know what you'd call it, but it says, it's a statue that says, it's a joke. and there's an angry person who says, is he serious? And here they come with pitchforks and torches. This is how regular people feel. You don't believe me? Well, first, I can show you a million times Dave Chappelle. We get it, man. We get it. The critics are a weird elite class holding a fringe ideology that people don't care for, and 16,221 people, 99%, love Dave Chappelle. But check this out. Justin Roiland, I hate to bring him into this, but you got to. He's the creator of the wildly popular Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty is a great show. I love the show. This is an archive of one of his tweets because he deleted it. Justin Roiland tweeted, "Extremism is bad no matter what ideology you adopt." And he linked to an article which shows this far left SJW type professor. Now we can't actually see the image because it's been archived. At least I'm pretty sure. It won't. Oh, okay, here we go. The image says, "Lecture tells students white people dangerous if they don't see race." This was tweeted out by Justin Roiland, someone who is not into, the mainstream politics stuff. He's somebody who was doing a cartoon for adults that's meant to be funny. He deleted the tweet because, you know what's going to happen. When you call out woke outrage, they come for you. But it shows us that there are people who are secretly sick of this. And I will stress, too, it's really funny how I've always kind of felt like, you know what? I'm going to stand up for what I believe in. I'm going to push back on these lunatics. Not Justin. Justin's great. I'm going to push back on the woke outrage, but this, pointing to this crazy woman talking about white people. Because I believe in it. I believe it's right. And there's nothing you can do to stop me. I'm sorry. To the woke outrage, they tried to shut down an event I was sponsoring. They weren't able to. Because I don't care. You can call me whatever you want. I just don't care, man. Let me tell you something. I've been homeless. I've been rock bottom. You can take everything away from me, and I just don't care. That makes it easy for me. But a lot of people are scared they'll lose their show, they'll lose their job. They're scared that if they come out and say they're sick and tired of the outrage, people like Deborah Messing and Eric McCormick will demand a list of their names so they'll never support their projects and they'll boycott them. So yeah, people don't want to say these things. They don't want to speak up. But they'll give that rating, at least some people will. Trump supporters, the overt ones, have no problem telling the woke left to buzz off. But a lot of people are scared. I think Trump is going to win 2020 in a landslide. You know why? Because it's only gotten worse. The woke outrage has only gotten worse. And take a look at this. You can have your fringe minority of media personalities giving a 33% rating to Dave Chappelle, but the masses like it. The masses like the comedy. I turn on Family Guy. Family Guy comes on maybe like 30 times per day on basic cable, probably more than that. At any given time, I seriously can find a channel running an episode of Family Guy. And what does Family Guy do all the time? They make fun of everyone, and minority jokes, and Jew jokes, and it's particularly offensive stuff, but it's mainstream. And it's a wildly popular syndicated show. You see, I accidentally mixed those words together. It's heavily syndicated across multiple networks, and everyone loves it. And so is American Dad. American Dad's extremely offensive. They did an entire episode where they went to Saudi Arabia and made fun of the culture there. But this is what we get. If you come out and try and push back on this stuff, they'll dox you. And when they dox you, you lose your job. So what happens? They secretly vote for Trump. So this is not a new phenomenon. Check out this story from The Guardian in 2016, before Trump was even elected. Quote, "Not even my wife knows. Secret Donald Trump voters speak out." But this is from March 2016. So it says, "We asked Guardian readers who are voting for Trump why they support him. From firm conservatives to fed up liberals, their answers were revealing." Fed up liberals. Isn't it really funny? I added disaffected liberal to my Twitter profile because that explains me pretty well. The DNC stole it from Bernie. I think Bernie's kind of gone off the handle, especially with the climate change stuff, so eesh. But I'm a big fan of Tulsi. But I digress. I don't want to get into all that stuff now. In 2016, the DNC played their hand. And it was offensive to many people who thought that there was a chance that they could get a politician and they liked. So a lot of these people went Bernie or bust. A lot of these people were chaos voters. A lot of them were secret Trump supporters. But you can see that this narrative isn't new. But it's still funny then, because they try and act like I'm a conservative. They call Dave Rubin a conservative. No, Dave Rubin is someone who has been beaten down so often by the woke outrage left that he said enough. And guess what? And this is a problem for all you liberals out there. And I really am disappointed in all the liberals, and it's frustrating. Okay, Dave Rubin was being beaten down by the woke outrage nonsense. And he called out and said, what's happening? Why are people doing this? And who were the only people standing up and saying, come over and have a conversation? Why? It was conservatives and Trump supporters. And some people who didn't like Trump but were conservative. So Dave's looking around saying, anybody? I mean, and this is true of me as well. We're sitting here going like, does anybody want to stand up with us on the left and tell these people to knock it off? No? Okay. So Dave, very much so, shifted to the right. I think that's his own words. I don't want to, I hate how they try and smear him as conservative all the time. Although being conservative isn't necessarily a smear, you can see what they're trying to do. In the end, you'll find people like me making tons of videos about far left Democrats, their insane policies, and I'm getting sick of it. I used to be much further to the left, and now I'm just a moderate. You know why? It's really simple. I had a conversation recently with Steven Crowder, and he made some really great arguments. And I said, yeah, I gotta be honest. I don't think I know everything, and there was a lot of things I couldn't argue back. Because unfortunately, instead of presenting arguments and being smart, many on the left have just resorted to outrage, or they've stopped talking. And because of that, regular people who are looking for answers don't know what the left is actually proposing outside of insanity. Woke outrage. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some good policies, like Elizabeth Warren going after big tech. I get it. I like Tulsi Gabbard on a lot of issues, like one of the biggest things is private prisons I think are really, really bad, and that includes detention centers for illegal immigrants, etc. I get it. But I want to hear real arguments from the left. Unfortunately, what's dominating the left today is woke outrage. Look at this. Oh, this comic, how dare he? And everyone gets angry, and here we go, like clockwork, and Dave Chappelle. Oh, what a tired and lazy routine. And we can see, look at this one. This is a story from May, CNN. Trump backers who were afraid to tell their loved ones. The narrative persists. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is, you take a look at these contemporary examples. A new poll showing Republicans in college are hiding their political views. They'll get failed, and they'll be social outcasts. You can see Adult Swim now pushing back, saying enough. Dave Chappelle pushing back, saying enough. Even Justin Roiland saying enough. But I tell you what, this may be good news, but it doesn't mean the woke left is losing. It doesn't. It just shows you that regular people don't like it. However, take a look at this story. Symbol for hate groups. Couple told to remove Betsy Ross flag from soccer game. I think I'll do a bigger deep dive on the Betsy Ross stuff later on. But this shows you. I believe there are a lot of people who are living under the boot of the regressive outrage cancel culture left because they believe this group is stronger than they really are. They're not. And I've just proven it. You know how? I put on an event and hosted all of the speakers I wanted. Now, the theater did kick us out. Yep, that's true. And we had a contract with them, so they're going to have to pay. And we'll see where we go with this. But the gears are turning. We're not going to take this laying down. But the venue across the street, the bar, refused to back down, and we still had our event with no problems. Well, I shouldn't say with no problems, but the theater canceling our contract was a serious setback for us. But we still won. We've proven that all of their loud, noisy words can do nothing if you don't let them. So it's about time people stood up and joined Dave Chappelle and joined Adult Swim and told these people to shut their mouths because we don't care. We want to be free. We want to fight for what we believe in. But we also want to laugh at jokes and enjoy a chicken sandwich. So you know what? You're not doing what you think you're doing. The outrage of the left is creating a large group of people who don't even necessarily like Donald Trump, but are going to vote for him anyway because they are sick of the BS. I guess we'll see what happens come 2020. Stick around. Next segment will be coming up at 6 p.m. youtube.com/TimCastNews. It is a different channel, and I will see you all there.